Hello, everyone. I'm Judge Chris Lopez, the Justice of the Peace in Denton County. It is an honor and pleasure to be invited to celebrate this Labor Day with Tarrant County Labor. I'm a first generation Mexican American who grew up in a home where both of my parents worked minimum wage jobs to pay the bills, and I learned just how important labor is to the world. It doesn't matter what the business is, whether you work as a farmhand like my dad or as a janitor in a school like my mom. It's labor that keeps everything running. Without labor, produce doesn't get picked, products don't get made, and shelves don't get stocked. Everything in our lives exists because a worker put their blood, sweat, and tears into making it. Since the day the United States was founded, this country has had a hard time respecting labor. First, they wanted it free and kept slaves to make it happen, but after 30 years, abolitionist work reached its climax with the Civil War and slavery was abolished. They defeated an industry worth over $4 billion in 1860 or $125 billion today. Then they wanted it for as cheap as possible, and unions formed all over the country to fight back. It was a bloody and brutal fight in those days, but labor won the rights we have today. Without labor unions like the Knights of Labor, the AFL-CIO, the Teamsters, and many more, the greed in this country would shackle us all once again. And that is why I have and always will support unions who fight for more than just themselves, but for every laborer everywhere. Thank you again for having me. And if you'd like to support my campaign so that the laborers in my community will have someone that respects them as their judge, please visit my website where you can donate and volunteer at electchrislopez.com.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me. I am Texas State Representative Jasmine Crockett, your Democratic nominee for Congressional District 30, the district that is proudly represented by the outgoing Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson. And this district will now go into Tarrant County, and so I'm super excited to work with all of you. I want to first tell you that I am running for office because there's a need. Some people run for office so that they can get cool titles. And then there are those of us that truly feel helpless and like we need to lace up our shoes and do something. That's exactly why I decided to initially run for the Texas State House, is because I felt like there was a need there. And after enduring such a crazy session, when the Congresswoman said, hey, I think it's time for me to retire, I know that our answers, at least as of now, they don't lie in the state of Texas. Our answers lie in DC. And so I am so proud to be your nominee to serve in DC, so long as we get past November. Labor and what it means to me. Most people don't quite understand my connections to labor. And honestly, it was never really thought of as something separate or different for me. I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri, where my mom worked at the Postal Service. My dad, he was a teacher for a while. My stepmom is a teacher. And my aunt, she worked for Southwestern Bell. And then she ended up working at the post office as well. And so every single one of them was involved in a labor union. And my grandfather worked for Pepsi Cola his entire life. So to me, it was just a way of life. It wasn't until I got a little older that I started to kind of recognize that not everybody was in a labor union, but I thought that was just what it was. And the reality is that, I look at labor as the conscience of anything that is employment related in this country, right? The fact that we actually have work days, the fact that we have any labor laws in general, it was because of the labor unions and the movements. And that is what I probably love most about labor in general, is because I'm really an organizer. I'm a civil rights lawyer that also shows up and marches in the streets. And I also, because of my training, understand how to take that anger and anxiety and turn that into something that we can actually hold on to, right? Going from protest to policy, that is a big deal for me. And so, you can complain or you can decide that you're going to get up and you're just going to do the work. And so I'm running because, well, I wanted to get up and just do the work. Now, as it relates to what a successful term would look like, I'm just going to say this. That is a relative term. And the way that we continue to go through such trauma, seemingly every few months in this country, it really shifts my focus. And it's like, oh, we got a fire over here. Oh, now there's a fire over there. And so for me, success looks like me actually putting out some of these fires, us actually saying, okay, we've got this under control now. We are not currently burning down women's rights. We are not currently burning down voting rights. Like, we're not currently burning down LGBTQIA rights. We're not currently burning down issues of equity, whether it's related to race or whether it's related to sex or sexual orientation. Like, we're not burning these things down, right? So now all the fires are out. Now we start to build what we are supposed to look like. Let's build beauty from the ashes. And so success to me says I put out the fires, which means we actually pass some sort of protections and codification of Roe v. Wade. It looks like us passing the John Lewis Voting Rights Act or the Freedom to Vote Act. It looks like us protecting marriage equality. It looks like us raising the minimum wage. These are the things that success looks like to me. And, we'll see where we get, right? So we'll see. Hopefully we can minimize the dumpster fires and start to build from the ashes. And building for working families is so personal to me. And it's a conversation that I just honestly didn't really get to have very often because my race for the primary was so fast. But most people don't know that my mom worked 3 jobs. She worked for the Postal Service, she worked for Neiman Marcus, and she also had her own business. Actually, she technically worked for it because she also sold Avon. So that was the norm to me in my household. Like, everybody works multiple jobs. So my mom and my dad both worked multiple jobs to take care of our one household with one kid. And so when I went off to law school, I worked 3 jobs my first year in law school. That was what was normal to me. Your norm is created by what it is that you experience. That was the only thing that I knew. And it's only since I've gotten older that I'm like, wait a minute. So there were people that only worked 1 job? Like, I mean, it never even crossed my mind. And there was so much time that I missed with my parents because they were working so much. My grandparents were the ones that were taking care of me, that I was always with. And I just don't think that it's fair. Obviously I turned out pretty well, but does that mean that my parents should have been deprived of time with me as a kid, right? And so there's so much living that people aren't doing, and we're supposed to be the land of the free. That is who we're supposed to be, but it's not feeling that way if it's only free for certain people, if living is only available for certain people. Living means that you don't just wake up and go to as many jobs as possible so that you can keep the lights on and barely do that. But it means that you're going to a job that's going to be safe, that's going to pay you a living wage, and is going to allow you time to actually be with your family and enjoy life. So it's personal to me. And I want kids to have what I didn't get to have. I want parents to have what my parents didn't have. And so with that, obviously we need to look at things like paid sick leave. We need to look at maternity care and paternity care. I mean, when you're looking at a state like Texas that has decided that you have to carry a child no matter what, then you can't then say, oh, you're going to lose your job because we're not giving you time off. And the number of complications that come about or can come about, so holistic healthcare, making sure that we're taking care of abortion access, making sure that we're taking care of mental health as well as physical health. Those are the things that matter and make most sense to me, and obviously passing the PRO Act. So with that, I've probably talked too long, but there's so much to talk about. So please reach out if there's anything that y'all need from me. I'm JasmineForUs.com. I'm Jasmine for Us on all social media platforms. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ruby Faye Woolridge, your endorsed candidate for Tarrant County District Clerk. I'm running because I'd like to bring my background in education and in corporate America to this position. I am proud to be from a labor union family. I am a member of CLU and TSTA NEA. My oldest son was a member of the Air Traffic Controllers Association. My youngest son worked for SEIU. I believe that it is important that labor is a part of that process. Labor has been very good to me and my family. It put food on our tables. It educated us all, sent us all to college, and we have advanced degrees. 3 of the 4 members of my family. So labor is powerful. I am so proud to stand with labor because labor has stood with me and my family for years. What do I believe a successful district clerk will do? They will have records that are transparent. They'll have records that are accessible for everyone. They will have records available that are accountable for what it is that you need. We will open the process down at the county clerk's office, and we will make sure that the courthouse is open to all of the residents of Tarrant County. I will stand with labor. Labor has stood with me, and I believe that it is time for working families to be put at the forefront of this county. I believe it is important that labor knows that I stand with them. I will fight with them. I will work with them to improve the lives of working citizens. And I will also stand with those who seek collective bargaining. I thank you for an opportunity to speak with you. I thank you for a chance to go forward as your next district clerk. And I ask you to stand with me so that we can have justice for all at Tarrant County Courts with Ruby Faye. Thank you.
Hello, Democrats. First of all, thank you for inviting me. And I want to thank each and every one of you for your hard work and dedication to the people in our community. The road to November begins with each and every one of you and the passion that has ignited this movement. My name is Francine Lee, and I'm running for Texas Senate District 12, which is an open seat, and it encompasses Dallas, Tarrant, Denton, and Wise County. I will fight to win this seat for the people in our community.
Hi, my name is Crystal Gayden, and I'd like to thank the Tarrant County AFL-CIO for its endorsement of my campaign. I am a family law attorney with a practice that focuses on divorces and child support cases, custody cases, CPS cases, and protective orders. I'm also the Democratic nominee for the 324th District Court. This is a family law court serving all of Tarrant County. I am running for this court to restore compassion that is lacking in our courtroom and to assist families by providing them resources to help them rebuild, as well as to reassure fairness to all. When I think of labor, I think of it being the backbone of our country and the many sacrifices and contributions it's made to our great success. A successful term for me would be a renewed sense of confidence in our judiciary from the litigants that would have entered into my courtroom during my term, as well as alleviating the backlog of cases that have sat for several months and even several years without being heard. One of my plans for working families is acknowledging that they have to work and shouldn't spend numerous hours in the courtroom.
Hello, I am Jika Williams, and I am excited to be your Tarrant County Democratic nominee for Justice of the Peace Precinct 2. Precinct 2 covers North Arlington down to Lake Arlington, which also includes Dalworthington Garden and Pantego. Precinct 2 also incorporates South Hertulis Bedford, so everything south of 183 is part of Precinct 2, in addition to North Grand Prairie, the Tarrant County section. I am a native Texan. I was born and raised in Texas. I raised my children here, and I now have 3 grandchildren. I'm so excited about them. I am a small business owner. I provide services as a mediator, as well as teach for the University of North Texas, including adult education, where I support and teach students toward getting their high school equivalency, as well as English as a second language. So I have been mediating as a volunteer for several years. And through that experience, I realized that parties have no idea what the Justice of the Peace does outside of weddings. They didn't realize that Justice of the Peace also handles evictions, truancy, small claims, debts, credit card debts, and the like, up to $20,000. So I realized that, and I thought, this is a great opportunity to really get involved, restore the community back to the court, realizing that it is the people's court, ensuring that we're able to incorporate information to help people more easily work through the process of Justice of the Peace Court, educating our families as well. So for me, it all started with labor. I was a union steward over 20 years ago. I had a great opportunity to resolve conflict in the workplace, identify conflict ahead of time to ensure that we can ward off those experiences. I was part of the strike, obnoxiously driving around to bring attention to our cause and what we were fighting for regarding fair wages, a living wage for our families, and ensuring that we had appropriate, feasible health care, so that we could acknowledge what our retirees had done and contributed to the company, ensuring that they had what they need as well as retirees. So labor is deep rooted for me. That's the beginning of where it started for me, with resolving conflict and growing from there and achieving my master's in conflict resolution, and moving on to my small practice where I do run mediations and service the community, as well as service the state of Texas through medical billing mediation. So that is deep rooted for me, and I look forward to lending and supporting our local court with those same experiences. A successful term for me would simply be to reconnect the community back to the court, educating and supporting our parties and everyone that comes before the bench, so they understand that they have an opportunity, a fair opportunity, to be heard, use their voice, and express their different experiences, and work toward a reasonable solution. It's important that we understand that everyone needs the same fair opportunity, regardless of how they look, regardless of their first language. All of those persons and parties need to be heard and treated equally. As Justice of the Peace, I plan to support and build our working families by offering them more accessibility to the court. Our laborers should not have to miss an entire day or 3 days of pay. For some who have transportation service jobs that they are in order to get something done in the court. Also, it's important that we provide information to our families who are dealing with truancy, so they can truly understand how truancy affects their students and their families. That's very important to me. So for me, success is simply reconnecting our people back to the people's court, ensuring that everyone has a fair, same opportunity to be heard, and that every case is considered based on its own merit. I am an exact representative of the community that we serve, and I believe it is important that we have a Justice of the Peace in place that can understand both sides of an issue as Justice of the Peace. My name is Jika Williams, and I look forward to your support.